Kentucky butter cake is a moist and buttery pound cake with a sweet butter sauce that soaks through the cake. This indulgent keto Kentucky butter cake is going to blow your mind. It's easily one of the best low-carb cake recipes I have ever made. Sometimes, size matters and sometimes, bigger is better. I know many of you are enjoying my mini low-carb cakes and keto desserts for two, but that's not where we are going today, my friends. Oh no, today, we are going big, bold, and beautiful. And we are heading down into the heart of Dixie and taking inspiration from our beloved Southern friends, who do big, bold, and beautiful better than the rest of the world. Take, for example, the beloved Kentucky butter cake. I mean, people in the South know how to use butter in a big, big way. And anyone who can liberally throw huge amounts of butter in a cake and then drizzle that cake with butter sauce has my respect. I am pretty certain that I've never been to Kentucky. I have a decent sense of US geography, but some of those states down in the southeast corner of the country confuse me, so I might not even be able to place it on a map. Sorry, Kentuckians, but it's true, and I wager that many of you wouldn't be able to place the Canadian provinces, so there. But I have plenty of respect for you because hey, you created bourbon, you're pretty awesome when it comes to horse races, and you know how to knock it out of the park when you make pound cake. I confess I'd never heard of Kentucky butter cake until I saw this glorious salted caramel version from Wishes and Dishes. Quite literally, I sat there with my jaw hanging open, and there is a slight chance that I may have drooled a little. I instantly knew I had to make a low-carb Kentucky butter cake recipe. How to make Kentucky butter cake? Creating a low-carb recipe for Kentucky butter cake needed some careful thought, since low-carb ingredients don't behave the same way as flour and sugar. Butter, you need ridiculous amounts of it. Well, of course you do, it's a butter cake after all. You need a full cup of butter for the cake itself and even more butter for the glaze. Please don't ask me how to make this recipe dairy-free. It's a butter cake. Almond flour, this is where the keto version of Kentucky butter cake differs from the original. Now this presents a bit of an issue with all that butter, because almond flour already contains much more fat and moisture than wheat flour. Which means it could be too soft and too moist. Coconut flour, to offset the moisture content of the almond flour, I also added some coconut flour. It's incredibly absorbent and helps soak up all the moisture and give the cake some structure. Protein powder, yes, you need it. It doesn't have to be whey protein, it can also be egg white protein. But you need it. Because gluten is a protein, and since this cake is entirely gluten-free, adding in a dry protein powder helps the cake rise and hold its shape. Room temperature ingredients, this goes for almost all keto cakes, but it's really important to have your butter properly softened and your eggs at room temperature. For the butter, you should be able to easily press a finger into it and leave a dent, but not have it squish all over. And if you add cold eggs to that, it's just going to clump up all over again. So make sure you leave them out for at least 30 minutes before using. Grease it good, this cake is so tender, it has a tendency to stick in the pan. Do yourself a favor and grease that pan really well. Not once, but twice. I like to grease once with butter and once with coconut oil spray. Then I like to dust lightly with almond flour. Be sure not to use a pan with deep crevices, where the cake is more likely to stick. And try to use a very good non-stick pan. The glaze may not be something of a misnomer, since you aren't glazing the top of the cake. Rather, you are poking the cake with holes and allowing this amazing buttery syrup to soak into it. So good. Feel free to make some of the best low-carb caramel sauce to drizzle over yours, if you prefer. Everyone loves my keto Kentucky butter cake. Ever since I first published this recipe, it's been a beloved favorite among my readers. You don't have to look much further than the comments to see that. There are also a lot of copycat recipes out there now. I've even had people take this full recipe and pretend that they created it themselves. Yep, one woman on YouTube made a video and took full credit for my recipe. And a lot of other low-carb bloggers have now copied it, changing just one or two little things and giving me no credit whatsoever. That's unfortunately the way things seem to be these days. I might be old school, but I believe in giving credit to my inspiration. So make no mistake, my friends, this is the original low-carb Kentucky butter cake recipe. And I feel confident that it will stand the test of time.